Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into a deep biological investigation today, peeling back the layers of your nervous system to reveal the hidden mechanics that actually govern your sleep, your stress, and ultimately, your human longevity. We're not just treating symptoms here, we are uncovering the invisible operating system that dictates your energy, your emotions, and exactly how your body ages. So let's start with a really fascinating biological paradox. Why does trying harder to sleep pretty much guarantee you're going to stay awake? Think about it. The exact same brilliant, conscientious brain that absolutely crushes daily problem solving completely sabotages the most basic human function the second the lights go out.
I love this quote because it hits the nail on the head. You cannot effort your way to sleep. This is a profound realization. Sleep isn't some mountain you have to climb. It's not a puzzle to solve. It's a passive descent, and our biology literally locks us out of it the exact moment we try to force it.
All right, Section 1. The perfectionist sleep paradox, or the bug in the human software. We really need to distinguish between healthy drive and the specific thoughts that hijack our biology. There's a massive difference between perfectionistic strivings, which is just healthy goal-seeking and having high standards, and perfectionistic concerns. That second one, that's the relentless error scanning, the rumination over past mistakes, the fear of failure. That right there is the cognitive bug setting off your biological alarm bells at bedtime.
And these cognitive habits, they don't just stay in your head, they act as a physiological bridge. Things like anticipatory anxiety and mental checking actually take your daytime psychological distress and convert it into acute pre-sleep arousal. You are essentially screaming to your brainstem that there are threats lurking around, so it is absolutely not safe to shut down.
Moving on to Section 2, unlocking the HPA axis, the biological machinery of stress.
To understand the consequences of a racing mind, we have to look under the skin at the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. This is your central stress response system. When you bring performance pressure into the bedroom, your brain literally misinterprets it as a mortal threat. Bam! The HPA axis activates. Your hypothalamus releases CRH, which floods your system with cortisol. You are chemically prepping to fight for your life while tucked under your duvet. The biochemical contrast here is just wild. Normally, your cortisol hits its lowest point at midnight, letting your parasympathetic rest and digest system take over. But when you're chronically stressed about sleep, that negative feedback loop shatters. Your evening cortisol stays elevated, and your muscle sympathetic nerve activity nearly doubles. It's like revving your car's engine while slamming on the brakes. And we can actually measure this rigidity in real time through your heart rate variability, or HRV. When your HRV collapses, it shows your body is shifting from a flexible, relaxed state straight into a rigid fight or flight mode. You remain chemically locked in this high-alert survival state, even if you're lying completely motionless in the dark. Which brings us to Section 3, the hidden cost of wakefulness, the butterfly effect. Now, this HPA axis dysfunction does way more than just make you groggy. Think about the impact here. After just 6 nights of restricted sleep, your body's glucose clearance speed drops by a staggering 40%. To put that into perspective, chronic sleep restriction creates a metabolic profile that looks practically indistinguishable from early-stage type 2 diabetes. You're not just tired, you are fundamentally altering how your cells age and process energy. This is the ultimate butterfly effect across your entire biological system. Suppressed slow-wave sleep triggers neuroinflammation. High cortisol crashes your thyroid hormone conversion, completely sapping your daytime energy. It even messes with your dopamine. Because behavior influences biology and biology influences aging, this kind of fragmented sleep creates a self-amplifying cycle of hormonal decline across basically every organ system. Section 4. The trap of sleep effort, or the performance illusion. So, what's the core neurological trap keeping high achievers stuck in this cycle? It's called sleep reactivity. This is the fatal flaw of treating sleep as a high-stakes performance test that you can somehow fail. When you monitor how tired you feel, or start doing the mental math of how many hours are left until dawn, you are actively firing the exact sympathetic neural pathways that prevent unconsciousness. As the saying goes, the moment you stop grading it, sleep usually improves. Honestly, this is a life-changing realization. You simply cannot command your autonomic nervous system with sheer willpower. Trying to force sleep is like trying to smooth choppy water with a flat iron. You're just going to make more waves. You have to trick the threat detection system into standing down.
And that is what Section 5 is all about, hacking your sleep architecture, the override codes. First up is a classic, scientifically rigorous method called paradoxical intention. Basically, you deliberately try to do the exact opposite of what you want. You get in bed and intentionally try to stay comfortably awake. By doing this, you instantly strip away that must-not-fail pressure. Once the performance anxiety vanishes, your cortisol drops, your HRV recovers, and sleep just naturally emerges.
Next, we have cognitive restructuring. Now, this isn't about blind toxic positivity. It's about disarming the HPA trigger right at its source. You're physically rewiring your neural connections by forcing your brain to pause, objectively evaluate the evidence behind whatever catastrophic nighttime thought you're having, and generate a realistic, balanced alternative. Here's the sequence. First, catch the distorted thought. Second, ask curious questions, like, is this literally 100% true? Third, mentally note the evidence for and against it. And finally, generate a balanced, non-arousing perspective. This shifts your processing away from your emotional fear center, the amygdala, and brings it back to your logical prefrontal cortex, completely shutting off the adrenaline valve. But if your mind is truly racing, you need cognitive shuffling, also known as serial diverse imagining. This is an incredible evidence-based technique that disrupts analytical thought by filling your working memory with totally random, neutral visualizations. It artificially mimics the random, micro-dreaming state your brain naturally enters right before you drift off. The protocol is super simple but neurologically profound. Just pick a random neutral letter, like B. Then visualize unrelated words that start with it. Basket, buffalo, bubble. If you get stuck, move to a new letter. By scrambling your thoughts into nonlinear nonsense, you signal to your brainstem that there are absolutely no problems to solve and no threats to scan for. The parasympathetic system finally gets to take the wheel. Of course, these cognitive overrides work best when paired with environmental syncing. Keep your room cold, around 65 to 68 degrees. Schedule a dedicated worry time earlier in the evening so your brain knows the problem-solving shift is over. Manage your light exposure strictly to optimize your melatonin. When you align your psychological software with your physical hardware, you pave a frictionless runway for deep, restorative sleep.
Ultimately, we are talking about shifting your entire paradigm, upgrading the system. The old operating system treated sleep as an active performance that required intense effort. The new operating system recognizes that sleep is a passive biological state requiring surrender. You stop trying to control an uncontrollable process, set the biochemical stage, and just allow your human operating system to heal itself.
So what if your racing mind isn't a flaw you need to fight, but simply a biological signal waiting to be understood? Once you grasp the invisible mechanics of the HPA axis, the trap of perfectionism, and the incredibly interconnected systems of your body, you realize you don't have to fear the night anymore. Because now, you hold the manual to your own human potential.